Hello YouTube, how's it going? Welcome to my channel, thedastardLeebatman. My name's Lee, and I'm here to review Silent Hill 2, the remake that just came out, by Bloober Team, published by Konami. So how did they do? That's what I'm here to tell you guys. So what did I think? What's my overall take? Bloober Team absolutely nailed this. They 100% understood the assignment. This is very much Silent Hill 2 remake, and this is as good of quality as the Capcom Resident Evil remakes and the Dead Space remake. I kind of can't believe it, to be real. When this game was being announced and everything, and it was coming out, and it was by Bloober Team. Bloober Team, I think, has made good games. They've made games that I like. Some of them I've played. I haven't played Layers of Fear yet, but I did play Blair Witch. I played that all the way through and got like 2 of the endings or something. I thought the game was okay, but overall I kind of thought the story was lacking. The Medium I played about like an hour or 2 of and just kind of fell off of, not because I was bored or anything, but I just got busy with work and stuff at the time and never got around to going back to it. But honestly, after playing Silent Hill 2 Remake, I might go back to it. I'm kind of intrigued by it. But a lot, I look at reviews and I see how people talk about them as a developer online and stuff before this came out. I feel like that conversation is 100% changing now that this has come out. I was kind of expecting this to get like, 7s mostly, maybe some 6s here and there. I kind of expected the way people took this in as kind of similar to what happened with Alone in the Dark earlier this year, which I also think that game is very good. It has some flaws, but I thought it was really good from what I played of it so far. And a lot of people who really like survival horror games like that game a lot as well. So if you like survival horror, if you're watching this review or anything, obviously you're at least interested, so definitely check that game out as well. I'm just as surprised as you guys. I had a feeling I was going to enjoy it because it's Silent Hill 2, and even if it had some jank to it, I was like, I'll just deal with it, blah, blah, blah. And Bloober had never done combat before, but Silent Hill 2, if you play the original, like, it has combat in it, but it's not really, like, the focus. As a matter of fact, I think the last time I played Silent Hill 2, I remember I just ran past probably, like, 90% of the enemies, and in this game, you can't do that, which we'll get into in a moment. So for Bloober to go from making games that has no combat to this, I was like, okay, well, they're obviously going to focus on like running around enemies and stuff, and that's not what they did. There's combat in this game, and it's very good. And the first thing that I want to talk about as far as them pulling this off is the characters and the voice acting. The original Silent Hill 2, in my opinion, has some of the best writing in any video game. It's up there with like movies and stuff, and it's one of those things that like a lot of times when people who love video games, they're like, hey, if you like want to play something that has a great story, then you need to play Silent Hill 2. The other Silent Hill games I think have great stories as well, at least through the fourth one. And I think Shattered Memories, the one that was on the Wii, is pretty good as well. Other than those first 4 and Shattered Memories, Silent Hill, in general, hasn't really been the best. And it's been kind of dormant for the last 12 years. And I think that was another reason why people were a little skeptical of Bloober Team as well, because this is really the first real Silent Hill game in 12 years. Now, Silent Hill Ascension came out. That doesn't really count. Silent Hill The Short Message is a video game, but it's like a quick little free thing. It's almost like a tech demo in a lot of ways, and it was fine. It was okay to play. At least you could play it, unlike Silent Hill Ascension. But this is a full-on, like, actual real video game. And some of the stuff they were talking about had me a little nervous, because this game being so much longer than the original as well, I was like, I don't know. This sounds a little... but after playing it, I gotta say, the length of the game is one of my favorite parts about it, because I love just being immersed in the world and the atmosphere of all of it. And yeah, but anyway, so let's get back to the characters. The characters in the original Silent Hill are some of my favorite, has some of the best writing, like I said. In this one, there's some new things that they have the characters do. A lot of it is revisited from the original, but I think they absolutely nailed this, especially the guy who plays James. And also Eddie. I think those two are probably the standouts of the cast for me. I also really liked Maria/Mary. Thought her actress was very good. Honestly, everyone in this is fantastic. They really nailed it. And of course, the penultimate scene with Angela is also voice acted to perfection as well. If you know what that scene is, then it takes some nuance as far as the voice acting goes, and they nailed it. So yeah, so that's the first thing that I was like concerned about as far as this remake comes along, is how are they going to handle the characters and how are they going to handle the voice acting. I've heard that the Medium fumbled the ball a little bit when it comes to some of the stuff to do with the characters at the end and some of the themes and stuff. This game has none of that. This is very much Silent Hill 2. They barely really changed anything, but I think they plussed it. To be honest with you, there's some things that I even prefer in this one. Like, I actually really prefer Eddie in this version of the game over the original. And I can't believe I'm saying that, honestly, because I do love my boy Eddie. But speaking of the character stuff, I do want to talk about the motion capture in this game is some of the best I think I've ever seen. And I was looking at some of the behind the scenes stuff on it and everything, and I think that actually helped a lot with the voice acting. The way this was motion captured is pretty much the way they motion capture films, and I think that really helped them nail things. And they had like actual like props and stuff on the set and everything, pretty much just doing theater acting. Essentially, that's what motion capture is. I kind of can't believe it. This has some of the best looking character models and character renders, as well as like the animation and then the way that they're mocapped and everything, and the detail on all their faces. It's chef's kiss. It's kind of insane. Let's move on. We're going to talk about the atmosphere / music. Akira Yamaoka did come back to recompose the tracks and remix them and everything. Of course, it's amazing. I don't really have to say much about that. He added a couple extra instruments here and there to, you know, some of the songs and everything. Really pay attention to the first song that hits, you know, in the opening scene when James is looking in the mirror. I'm really bad at song titles, so I didn't look it up before I started reviewing this. This is very off the cuff kind of. That track has some extra stuff in it that I think hits extremely well. So the atmosphere of this game is kind of sort of unparalleled. To be honest with you, funny enough, I think it's the best atmosphere and sound design in a horror video game that I've experienced since probably Alien Isolation. But it really is like as immersive as something like Alien Isolation, and the way that like the environment looks coupled with that sound design is what makes it so good. You can hear like the mud and the leaves crunching underneath James's boots as he walks to Silent Hill. You can hear him walk through every single puddle, the leaves hitting the ground, the way the wind blows. You can, as you're heading to Silent Hill, you can kind of sort of hear the monsters in the town. The monster design and the way that like they sound as well is spot on. Some of it is very close to the original. Like they do, you know, sometimes, you know, you whack them and they let out a little moan, you know, because Silent Hill is like that. This one is, at least. And what's interesting about the atmosphere in this game is that it's kind of like foreboding and crushing, to the point where you're like, I don't know if I want to go in this next room, but then you do, because you just can't help yourself, because the game is so well designed. You want to go into the next room, but you also don't. You have this like internal argument with yourself, this internal conflict. And there were plenty of times in this game, and I don't do this very often with a lot of games, where, you know, I actually just walked towards the next objective. Like when I was going towards the town, there were several times when I stopped the sprint. It's really like more of a light jog. There's a moment at the end of the game where you're walking down. There's several moments where you're walking down really long hallways, because Silent Hill 2 does that multiple times. You know, I just had to stop sometimes and just take in the environment and just look around. This is one of the few horror games where, like, yeah, I was scared to go into the next room, but I also couldn't wait to go in there to see how cool it looked. Which I think that actually moves to my next thing, which is that this game is actually scary. In my opinion, the original Silent Hill 2 is not very scary. Like, it's cool. It has the atmosphere for days. It's got like that psychological aspect to it where you're like, what the hell's going on? But I don't find the game scary. Even when I first played it back when I was 10 years old, I didn't think it was very scary. I was more like confounded by it than anything. I think like the combat really plays into making it scary, because you have to engage with a lot of these monsters, and they are not necessarily easy to take down because James is a normal guy. I do think the combat does get easier the longer you play the game, but that's just because you're getting used to it. But it still managed to keep that scary stuff. I'm gonna go and tell you guys something right now. The mannequin creatures in this are like ramped up on steroids, man. Like, they're so creepy and scary. This game, what's funny to me about this game is like, it does jump scares right, in the sense that like they're organic, and they're also not false jump scares. Now, what is a false jump scare? Well, a false jump scare is if you watch a lot of horror movies like I do, or something like, or you play a lot of horror games, a false jump scare is essentially like they play the loud noise, or a loud noise happens, or they play the loud music, and it makes you jump, and then the reveal to what you're jumping to is just that it's, you know, one of their friends or something like that, right? It snuck up on them or something. It's a false jump scare. There's no actual like thing to be afraid of there. It's just meant to make you go, oh, you know, which I hate those. I think that's like the worst kind of jump scare. I accept it, you know, here and there. Like, you can do it. It's a fun little gag to do here and there. But some of these movies that come out nowadays, and some of these games that come out nowadays, overuse that aspect too much. And I don't like that. And Bloober, I think, has done that sometimes. with like their previous games, like with Blair Witch, I thought had a lot of false jump scares. You know, so this actually has real scares in it. Mainly the mannequins are going to scare the shit out of you in this because they hide and they'll just pop out, and they don't, like, your radio doesn't recognize them because they're standing still. And, you know, sometimes, you know, it's funny because you'll see them hiding sometimes, you know, and you're just like, oh, you're an idiot. You pop them, right? But then sometimes they just genuinely just come out of nowhere. There was several times when I'm just like going through a level or something and they just yeet themselves out of nowhere and start attacking you. And these things are tough to fight too, because I mean, they bob and weave like they're freaking Mike Tyson. It's ridiculous. But it's also extremely cool, and that really ties into how like scary the game is and can be. All this stuff coupled with the atmosphere, along with, like, I mean, listen, Silent Hill 2 is very dirty. I think at one point I made a joke about how we were in Asmongold's house. Funnily, I think Asmongold's house might be dirtier. But anyway, it's just like grimy and gross, and I think that adds to the horror as well. And yeah, it's actually scary this time. Whereas like the last time I played Silent Hill 2, I honestly was like kind of just doing it to get, you know, through it almost. Because I was like, I want to experience this story again. I want to get to the next cutscene. You know, I didn't actually necessarily, or get to the next like fun little puzzle. I didn't actually necessarily care about anything else, you know. And then this one, I think that they completely fixed that, at least for me personally. I know I'm the outlier when it comes to Silent Hill 2. My favorite Silent Hill is probably Silent Hill 3, but Silent Hill 2 I like a lot, but I think the combat and stuff is just not, it's just not an engaging game to actually sit down and play, in my opinion. I don't feel that way about a lot of older games, by the way, because like I like the original Resident Evil trilogy still. So I love that type of stuff, but Silent Hill 2, there's just something about like, it just gets boring to me where you just run past all the enemies, and in this one you're not. Which we're going to go now into the gameplay section. I think the gameplay to this is phenomenal. As a matter of fact, I saw some people comparing this to the Callisto Protocol, but you know what's funny? Yes, there's a dodge mechanic in this, but it feels like an everyman kind of dodge, where he really is like kind of like, it's like a desperate dodge, which I like. And I did, you know, kind of get more used to the dodge. You can like frame cancel and stuff like that, animation cancel with it and stuff like that. Sometimes, if you get too far in the animation though, James will just go ahead and swing that bar instead of dodge. But anyway, it is kind of like Callisto Protocol, but I'll tell you what helps this game a lot is the fact that you have to actually push a button to activate the dodge. And that immediately makes it so much better than the Callisto Protocol, because in Callisto Protocol, I remember playing that, and I'm like, I don't want to dodge this way, but I guess I am, because you just kind of auto-dodge as long as you're holding the stick backwards or left or right or whatever. In this game, you have to actually press a button. Gee, who could have thunk that pressing a button to do an action in a video game would actually be good? So, you know, definitely has a leg up on Callisto Protocol in that sense. In pretty much every sense, because it's actually good. I think the one aspect of this game that probably is lacking, will be lacking to some people, is like maybe the gunplay, because there are only 3 guns in this. And there's only like 2 melee weapons, but they both kind of have the same combo. You know, I think part of what really helps this gameplay is all the new level design. The way this game is designed is phenomenal. You always want to go into that next room, and you're always checking every single door. A little image popped up at the end of the game telling me how many locked doors I checked. And it was a lot, because I wanted to keep going in there, even though I was scared to. The way this game has dealt its level design, it's very much, it almost feels open world in a way, even though it's not. It's very much like closed off sections. It's like an open world game that has closed off sections that you can explore at certain points. And that works beautifully for Silent Hill 2. That's kind of sort of how the original game is as well. But I think they really amp it up to this, and they have expanded on a lot of these areas. And I didn't know how I was going to feel about that when I heard about it, because of how well they've done it. The prison in particular, I thought, was extremely engaging, had a lot of like really fun moments, and just you're constantly going in from room to room, finding new stuff. I thought the apartments at the end were great as well. I think every single area was so much fun, finding the next piece to a puzzle and being like, oh, that goes to this puzzle. I need to go back and go there and combine it with this thing. You know, your mind is just constantly worrying. You're constantly going like, oh, I can go here now. I can go there now. I finally unlocked that door. You just kind of can't wait to do the next thing in this game. And it's like kind of shocking. In this one, unlike in the original, I wasn't just trying to get to the next cutscene. I wanted to find the next, like, you know, little needle thing that I use to get something out of a drain. I wanted to find the next like disgusting hole that I got to stick my arm into to grab something, you know? I wanted to find that stuff. One of the things I think helps with the level design is the fact that now you can like use your melee weapon to smash open stuff. And you would think like, okay, that's a pretty standard thing. But when you're in the town at the beginning, for example, I was constantly going up to windows, being like, can I break this? Can I get in this building? And, you know, yeah, I think that's amazing. I think the level design of this is probably my favorite new element of the game, actually. I think that they absolutely nailed it. And of course, all the things that I've talked about previously, you know, help with that level design, of course, because you can have the best design levels in the world, but, you know, if you don't have the gameplay or the atmosphere to back it up, who cares? I think this is probably the best love letter you can have to Silent Hill 2 right now. And it kind of becomes its own thing, to be honest. Like, now, when I say that, I don't want to scare off any Silent Hill fans, because it's very faithful to that story of Silent Hill 2. But I will say they do add like a couple scenes that I think clarifies some things, just like a little bit on like a first playthrough. You know, I do think that there's some stuff in Silent Hill 2 that is vague, which is why you've had such a huge community for video essays on Silent Hill 2, specifically Silent Hill 2. Sure, there's video essays for other Silent Hill games, but Silent Hill 2 in particular is just like a gold mine of a treasure trove of a rabbit hole of when it comes to the video essay stuff. Obviously, this game wouldn't exist without the original, but I think this takes some stuff from the original and makes it even better. This is a more fun experience. I saw someone on Twitter try to say that, like, I don't like that it looks like they've made the combat fun, and you're not supposed to have fun when you play Silent Hill 2, and I got news for you. It is a video game at the end of the day, and you need to be having fun while you play a video game. If I'm not having fun while I play a video game, then I don't want to play it. So, you know, I think that is important. I will go ahead and tell you, this update I also think is important as well. People can finally experience one of the best video game stories of all time in a format that they're more comfortable with. You know, I saw some people try to say that maybe this remake, you know, that the video game industry now is essentially taking notes from Gus Van Sant's Psycho. So if you don't know about Gus Van Sant's Psycho, when he remade Psycho, he pretty much just did a shot-for-shot remake with a new cast, and it was in color. And it's like, what's the point of this? And Gus Van Sant has talked about that, and he did it kind of on purpose and blah, 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 to prove a point to the studio and all that stuff. I highly disagree with that. I think this game, if you want to compare it to like a remake of a movie, I would say it's closer to like something like John Carpenter's The Thing. It's not making substantial changes the way that John Carpenter's The Thing does to the story and stuff, but it's taking like that original concept and that original idea, that original game, and just making it even better. I think that Bloober Team really, really pulled it off. They really deserve their flowers for this. And, you know, I'm honestly excited to see what they do next, whether it's another Silent Hill game or something else. I kind of can't wait. I think they finally, like, something over at that studio has finally, like, clicked in everybody's heads, in the leadership's heads, in the developers' heads, and they've made what I personally think is one of the best games of the year. Probably my favorite game of the year, which I didn't think I'd be saying after, you know, before it came out. But hey, you know, this is where we're at now, and it's phenomenal. Everything you've heard about it is true, probably, unless you've heard bad things about it, in which case those people are dumb. Don't listen to them. Listen to me. Before I give my score, I do want to talk about this small little thing with the game. I played on PC, and I think PC performance was fine, sort of. It uses Unreal Engine 5, and if you don't know anything about Unreal Engine 5, it has stutters and hitches sometimes on PC. The PC performance for me, it took me a little bit to finally get it to where it would like just run mostly fine. I did still have big frame rate drops and traversal stutters and stuff like that when it was loading and things like that, which I think can honestly be hammered out in some patches and everything. It did not keep me from enjoying my experience with the game, though. I want that to be very clear. This is not the type of performance. This is not like how when I first got Space Marine 2 on my old PC. I upgraded my PC, and I've heard that that Silent Hill 2 actually runs really well on lower hardware as well. But this is not like that. Okay, when I was getting like 20 FPS. All right, I was very much getting like, you know, the lowest I think it would hit would be like in the 30s, and that's only because of the traversal and loading hitches and stuff like that. I don't know. There's something going on as far as that goes, but most of the time, I mean, we're talking like 52. Sometimes it was like a locked 120. Yeah, I think once they figure that out, this will literally be perfect, and I'll be raising my score probably. But right now, the PC version, I'm gonna have to give 4.5 stars out of 5. I really love this game a lot. Like I said, I think it would be a 5 out of 5 if it wasn't for those very small issues I had as far as the performance and stuff goes. Anyway, guys, that's my review for Silent Hill 2 Remake. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. And I'll be back with more videos.